further ado, I think I'm going to turn over to Dr. Ed Rooney here, who's been very, very nice to speak to us tonight about arthritis in terms of dogs and cats, right? Mm-hmm. And he is about a 20-year co-owner up at Daniel Webster Animal Hospital up in Bedford, and a general practitioner, and we're very grateful to have you tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right.
What they're finding now is that obesity is actually an endocrine disease. They classify it now as an inflammatory disease. The reason is that when you're obese, or 20% or greater than what you should be normally, the fat is actually blood starved. And when it gets stressed like that, it produces chemicals, prostaglandins, cytokines, all these really active chemicals that stimulate and cause arthritis. So you can actually cause arthritis in an animal by making them obese, even without the poor genetics and the accidents and the other problems that they have naturally. You can cause arthritis. The fat, or the obesity causes inflammation even when there isn't an underlying disorder, and almost always there is. I mean, the dogs they're active, they're injuring themselves, they may have poor genetics in bad hip conformation or elbows or whatever. So of course it makes that problem worse as well. So arthritis in obese animals requires medication 3 years sooner than their lean siblings.
Okay.
So the amount of obesity that causes disease is probably 20 to 25% above normal. So it sounds like a lot, but when you think about it, a 10-pound dog, that's 12 pounds, 12 and a half pounds, that's not a lot. I mean, we have a lot of 10-pound dogs that are 20 pounds, so they're like 100% more than they should be. You really got to know what your dog's eating, your cat, how much, what's the content of the food, what are you putting in there, and then what are you taking out, what kind of exercise are they getting. In the wintertime, everybody shuts down, nobody goes outside, so some of these animals haven't been out in 6 weeks now, and it's, they come in our office and they're pinging off the walls, and I say, when's the last time you went for a walk? Oh, September. And so this is the problem. Every winter, dogs gain and gain and gain, and then people try to get them off in the spring, and it doesn't work very well that way. So our whole goal is to try to do healthy eating year-round and try to keep the exercise moderate but constant throughout the season. And for people that can't get outside and walk around in the winter, I certainly understand that. Places like this are awesome because you can get a dog in here, get a good moderate exercise program that's easy on the joints, and keep that dog as fit as they were in July. That would be an awesome thing if people would take advantage of that.
Plus, you keep your sweetie longer.
Yeah, what it does to kidneys, liver, brain, a lot of these dogs now that you see with cognitive dysfunction at age 10 or 11 or 12, there's a relationship between all that stuff. So, yeah, definitely. So
I could just jump in there too with the hind end weakness that we often see with spinal arthritis. Many of these dogs just can't get up off the ground, so then they become incontinent, and then that becomes a downward slide right there. And many dogs that we get coming in here with lumbar sacral spinal disease, and then they're having the leg weakness. Once we get them going with an exercise program, the owners are just really impressed with how the dog can get up again and get outside, and then the incontinence occurrences decrease. So I think, I look at it that we're helping longevity.
Right.
And we keep moving longer.
Yeah, I think the key to weight loss is maintaining muscle mass while decreasing, extra fat and keeping them fit. And, if you just starve the dog, the weight will come off, but you're going to lose muscle, you're going to lose useful tissue as well. So, you know, the exercise keeps their muscle mass, keeps their metabolism up. What they're finding is that just by withholding calories, what happens is the dog's metabolism understands that and starts to slow down.
Right.
So it's harder and harder and harder to lose weight. And so the newest science is called nutrigenomics. This is where they're putting things in the food to stimulate the genes to express themselves to increase the metabolism. And it's really cool. I mean, you give them some amino acids and all of a sudden their metabolism starts picking up. This is the stuff that you hear on TV all the time. You know, broccoli, the fat fighter food and all that stuff, but it actually does work. If they give them the appropriate amino acids, their metabolisms will start to pick up so that they can increase metabolism while decreasing calories, which hasn't happened before. So pretty cool stuff. The palatability quotient of food has gone way up in the recent years. So this is a problem in a lot of ways if you don't limit the amounts of food that the dogs get, because they'll eat it. You know, yeah, they love it. It's great stuff, and as a result, we have probably many more obese dogs just because of the palatability and people not restricting how much they're getting. So very, very important. Say, in my opinion, Purina and Hills are the leaders in this, and the other companies seem to sort of follow along, but the science is pretty amazing. If you're into science, you can go on at length about all the different things that are in these foods, but the amino acids that they pack in there, in the joint diets, they put in high levels of omega-3s. Omega-3s are known and proven anti-inflammatory agents, and so you don't have to then add them special outside. And then obviously you have diseases, Cushing's disease, where they produce too much cortisol, makes them eat and get really heavy, and hypothyroidism, they don't burn anything, their metabolisms are really slow. And so there's things that they can get or develop disease-wise that will make them heavy. So part of the workup for an obese dog is just to make sure they're not hypothyroid, because that's an easy fix. You give them a supplement. If they're Cushingoid, it's a little bit more complicated, but it is treatable if need be. But it has to be part of the plan, if the animal's way heavy. You can't just withhold calories on a Cushingoid dog, or he will drive you crazy. They'll rip your house apart, basically. You're trying to get food.
I think cats are by far the worst.
Try to convince you that obesity is a disease. It's now classified as a disease by insurance companies and by everybody else. So I think it's something where it's no longer cute, and it's not okay to be, to have a real round cat. People say, oh, I want my cat to be 20 pounds. Well, no, you don't. Because that's going to be, it's going to be tragic in a few years. So I think the big thing about supplements is nobody's looking at the supplements. The FDA has told us we're not looking at it. It's up to you to figure out if you like what you see, and as far as results. There has been a study done that I saw, and I can't remember who did it, but they did test like 6 different products. One had nothing, one had like 6 times more than it was supposed to have, 2 had the right amount, and the other 2 were somewhere in between. So it was like,
unregulated.
It's totally unregulated, and it's, so we kind of stick to the biggest names, the best names we can find, Nutramax, NutriScience, and we don't go for off-brands, the special deals, the 1,000 tablets for $10, because there's a pretty good chance you're not getting anything in that, or it's some weird, concoction. And they're not looking at the mercury content, all these other things that you may be actually poisoning the dog. Would be horrible. So, yeah, I would say supplements are great. Make sure it's a good name brand. Make sure you trust the company. If you use it and it works on you, it probably will work well on the animal. But again, a lot of these foods have it already in there, and they're inexpensive enough where they can actually put enough in to make it do something. Unlike glucosamine, a lot of foods say they have glucosamine, but the companies will readily say it is marketing. There's not enough in there to do anything. So if you're going to do glucosamine, you have to add it separately because it's so expensive. It's a very expensive product. So the companies put it in so they can say it's there, but it's not enough to do the job. Weight loss, you know, obviously the energy put out has to exceed the energy put in. The exercise thing is great. People go out, they throw the frisbee, throw the ball. Be gentle, please. We get a ton of injuries. You know, people, especially in April, they take the dog out and start throwing the frisbee, and they've been inside all winter long, and they blow cruciate or dislocate a hip, or just rip every muscle that they have in their body. So please be gentle. It'd be great if you could do something to keep the dogs fit through the winter and ramp them up gradually in the spring and summer. The underwater treadmill thing is awesome for that purpose, just keeping the muscle tone and the flexibility. But there's no secret. You have to put out more than you put in. And so that's why some of these new foods now that are upping the metabolism, even while they're at rest, are going to be very useful, because that way you don't get this shutdown of metabolism that occurs when you restrict calories. Yeah, physical therapy is pretty much magic as far as I've ever seen. Every time I go, I hate it because it's usually women and they make you cry. But by the time you leave, you feel wonderful. I had this little girl, she was like this big, and I'd walk out of there with tears in my eyes, but boy, if I can move my wrist after having it pretty much shattered, it's amazing. So it's everything together. It's the whole picture. It's the food. It's the lifestyle. It's the medications and supplements. It's the physical therapy. It's all works in concert, and it works. Just have to do it.